Hi class, in this video I'm going to show you how to continue working with shapes in Illustrator. So I'm going to assume that you followed along with the last tutorial video and you have what you're seeing here on the screen, the outline of the teapot. So we have some features of the teapot that we haven't dealt with yet, and what I'm really talking about here is the handle. The handle is empty in the picture, but we haven't really traced around that empty part, so how are we going to deal with that? Well, first let's take a look at what this teapot's going to look like if we don't deal with the handle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom of my toolbar, and most of the stuff you see on this toolbar you're really not going to use, so don't worry about how confusing it looks and how there's so many buttons on it. And what I'm going to deal with is down here at the bottom, where we're going to deal with the fill and the stroke. So this square on top is telling us what color the fill of our shape is, so what color the inside of the shape is. And the outline, this other box that is shown as an outline, is called the stroke, and that's the color on the outline of our shape. Now I can choose different colors for these. I can choose to have no colors. This white box with a red line through it means no color, means it's an invisible fill. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to click this little button here, swap, and that's going to take my outline and turn it into a shape that's filled. So I no longer have an outline, I have a filled shape. If I want an outline, I can click on the outline and you'll see that it's brought to the front, so that I'm being told that's what I'm changing right now. If I double click on it, then I can choose a color and I can create a colored outline. So you can see I have a red outline. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on my stroke, and then I'm going to click none to give it no stroke, the colors. So let's zoom in, and I'm going to take my pen tool and I'm going to draw this handle. There we go. But you'll see if I click on this, let's give it a white fill, and then let's give the teapot a black fill. You'll see that I end up with the shape that looks correct. We have a teapot and it has a handle, but the problem is if I want to put this on a colored background, what's going to happen? Well, it doesn't look right because this handle is not the right color. So we don't want to just put a shape on top of our piece. We actually want to create one teapot where the handle's already cut out. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the Pathfinder tool. So we're going to go to Window, Pathfinder, and that's going to pop up this dialog box. And what we have here is a few tools that will help us combine things. So this first one is Unite. If you want to glue two things together, you're going to use Unite. What we want to do is this, minus front. Now here's where it gets tricky. We have to select two objects. We have to make sure that the teapot and this empty space for the handle are both selected, and then we're going to press minus front. And that's exactly what it sounds like. Whatever shape is on top is going to become like a cookie cutter. It's going to go to the shape behind it, cut out an exact copy, and then that will disappear. So I want to show you when I have both of these selected, and what I'm doing is I'm selecting one and then I'm holding shift and selecting the other. When I press minus front, you can actually see something happen, and I'll show that again. You can see, if you watch the handle, you'll see that it cuts out the handle. Now we can see the image behind it, and if I click on my teapot, there's only one thing, and there's no longer a shape here in the handle. So the shape that I had drawn became like a cookie cutter. It cut out the part of the teapot, and then it and the scrap piece disappeared. So now I have a teapot with a cutout handle, and if I want to put a shape on top of it, and all I'm doing here is drawing a rectangular box and sending it to the back. You can do Object Arrange, Send to Back, just like InDesign. Now I have a cutout like I wanted, so that's a tool that you can use. I want to show you the other tool here, the main tool in the Pathfinder box, which is Unite. So if you can't draw, don't panic. You can probably trace, just like we traced this teapot, or you can create shapes by gluing shapes together. So I want to show you how to draw a heart. Let's see what happens if I try to draw a heart myself. I'm actually getting, no, I was about to say I'm actually getting pretty decent with Illustrator, but I'm still not. After all these years, I still can't draw a very good heart. It's okay, but it looks hand-drawn. I mean, it's not great. I can mess with this for a long time to try to make it better. Maybe you want a hand-drawn look, in which case this is a good little tool to use. If you are looking for a hand-drawn shape, you might also go into your stroke palette here. I'm going to click Show Options, and you can give this a stroke, and then you can even change the profile, so you can make it look kind of hand-drawn by changing the thickness of the lines. Actually, that looks pretty good. And I'm just changing the weight to make the stroke thicker, and then I'm changing the profile to make it look fatter and thinner in different parts. So if I want a hand-drawn heart, that's actually not a bad look right there. I could even give it a color on the inside by clicking on my fill. Brown, maybe not the best color. But let's say I want a heart that is really symmetrical and doesn't look hand-drawn. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, but I'm going to click and hold on it and change it to ellipse. I'm going to hold shift while I draw out a circle. And then I'm going to take the stroke off this circle because it's kind of looks weird. I'm going to copy this circle and I'm going to make the top of my heart. So what I'm doing is I'm just fidgeting around with this until I get this green line showing that these are perfectly aligned in the center. So you can see here it's not aligned across the top. If I move it up, the green line will appear when they're aligned. You also can pull a ruler down, so you can go to View, Rulers, Show Rulers. This is just like InDesign, and you can pull a ruler down and you can try to line them up that way. Now I'm going to take my pen tool and I'm just going to finish out the bottom of the heart. And a neat trick in Illustrator, I drew a triangle, but it's clear. If I want it to be the same color as these circles, I can grab my eyedrop tool, click the circle, and then the shape that I'm clicked on will become the same circle as what I used the eyedropper tool on. So now I can just fidget around with this until it lines up with these circles. You can see I didn't do a great job. So what I'm going to have to do is get my white selection tool, and I can start editing this shape, just like in the last video when you can edit the teapot. So I'm going to try to line this up, and again I can pull a ruler out, so I can put a ruler right here down the middle of the heart. Right here's the center, and it looks like I got that perfectly on center. So now I have a little heart that I just made from some other shapes, and what I want to do is I want to glue all these together. So I have 3 pieces. I'm going to hold shift while I select all 3 pieces, and then I'm going to click Unite, and now I have just one piece and it's a heart. So that's working with shapes in Illustrator. If you have any questions, please let me know. Don't forget that you do have all of those Lynda tutorials available to you, and they're typically 2 to 3 minute videos on one subject. So you have a question like, I didn't catch how to use the fill, you can go to that site and there's going to be a video specifically on using the fill. That's everything I wanted to cover in this video. Next up is text.